Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and in this episode we're going to continue fitting the body panels and make sure we have all that perfect alignment. Alright guys, welcome back, and those who were watching last week will have seen that I have finally got the body modifications on the Alfarrari done, and I'm starting to go through and do the final panel fitment and just make sure everything can get on there, line up the way it's supposed to. So you might have seen I did the boot on last week, got it all lined up nicely. I have a little tweaks with the panel gap here which I can sort out moving forward. That's not an issue. If you missed it, I'll put a link up above so you can catch up, and think about subscribing. It does help us out. So today we are moving forward and continuing forward on the car. So I might start with the next easiest panel, which is going to be the bonnet. So I think we'll move up the front and start seeing how we go fitting that. So pretty much the only panel that I haven't touched the whole time I've been working on this car is this cowl panel here. So this I've already noticed actually has some rust that I need to repair. These little sort of pitted holes and a couple of spots I've got to fix up, and it's a little bit twisted and tweaked, so I'm going to have to play around with it, see if I can tweak it and shape it and get it in there so that I can actually bring the bonnet down and get it all to line up. Alright, so after a lot of fiddling, I've managed to get this onto the car. So you can see this panel gap here is probably a little bit too tight along the top. The levels and stuff are all out a little bit at the moment. And then coming along here, there's a little bit of a high there. So it's pretty much right on this corner. This front lip is all over the place at the moment. I've got a big gap there. Yeah, I need to do a lot of tweaking on the front here. This corner is still a little bit high. Coming up, and again we're a little bit tight up on this corner here, so there is a bit of work to do to mess around and just keep tweaking and moving and getting it so that everything sits perfectly flush and flat and smooth. And also spend a bit of time getting the latch sort of lined up and closing right. So just really time consuming fiddly stuff. Alright, that was a lot of work, and we're not perfectly flat. Again, this front end was very difficult to get completely straight because it's a double layer underneath. But we have a nice even panel gap all the way along the front, all the way down either side, and all the way around the top. I might actually have to just hammer this back a little bit more. This corner is just a little bit tight still. I can tweak that, but we've got nice panel gaps all the way around and nice even shapes. But I have noticed that even though all my work on the bonnet is actually quite reasonable, the guards are not. This actually has a really big high here, Yeah, I'm going to have to get in. I think I'm probably going to have to shrink this to pop it back down again. I'm going to give it a go with the hammer and dolly to start with and just see if I can get the curve back in there again. And I have the same issue on the other side, just not quite as bad. There's a low just in here and a high here and a high here. So lots of playing around, just getting the body as straight as possible so that when we get to the filler stage, there is almost no filler on this car. There will be a light skim on some of these places, but it's going to be, yeah, just a very, very fine skim. Sorry about the light. I moved down to the booth just to try and muffle the noise a little bit more of doing all this banging and crashing. But as you can see here, I've been pushing down. There was quite a big bulge right here on this guard, and this guard should just taper down nicely. And you might have seen me using the blowtorch. Now I have covered this in the past, but I like to do a lot of my shrinking using the blowtorch. It's quite an effective tool. So you can see here, I have some oil canning. So the panel's popping in and out, in and out. So what I'm going to do to try and remove that oil canning is shrink that area. And it'll just pull the metal in on itself a little bit and actually take that oil canning out. And the way I do it is heating up the area. I'll make a bit of an egg. You can actually physically see the metal stretching, and it will by heating up, it's heating up in that area, it's trying to expand, and it can't expand out, so it pops up in an egg, and you pop that egg up, and then you can tap that egg down, and basically, the way I like to explain it is you've heated it up, the metal's gone up like this. When you tap it back down again, you're actually pushing the metal in on itself while it's hot. So when it cools, it pulls tight and it's actually shrunk that metal. So that's what I'm going to do right there to get rid of that little bit of oil canning. And I'll go back afterwards and show you that the oil canning is gone. Well, I hope it is. And there we go, that quick. And that oil panning is completely gone. There's no oil panning anymore, it's all gone. So now I can continue smoothing this out. The other tool that I do like to use is I like to use this shrinking file. Now this is just an old file that I heated up and I bent so you get it flat. The benefit of using a file is it's a flat, covering a big area, and I actually like to get a bigger one, a wider, a slightly heavier one, but you can cover a large surface area in one hit to try and bring it all sort of level. But also the benefit of having the teeth on it is often when you're hitting a hammer on dolly, if you're squeezing the metal between the hammer and the dolly and you're actually hitting onto it, you're actually stretching that metal, which you can imagine you're squishing it and it squishes out the sides and basically stretches the metal. That's not a great idea. When you're using the shrinking file, the reason people often call it a shrinking file is if you've got a bit of a dip, it will grab hold of either side of that dent and sort of hold the metal still. Instead of letting the metal get squished out, it holds it there while you're pushing that dent up. So in effect, helps shrink that metal as well. So I'm going to continue moving over this using the file to go over and show me all the high spots. As you can see, these bits here that are shiny, you can tell they're high spots, and this will tell me the high spots, and I can get underneath with the dolly, lift it up, and then go through and then try and bring out the low spots. And just, it's time working backwards and forwards, but this is already so much better than it was when I started. That bump was actually quite pronounced. It was actually surprisingly big. So now it's coming together and it's getting that shape that I want. So more banging and crashing. All right, this is now done. I'm just sort of chasing my tail. The more I work it, the worse it keeps getting, and I'm going backwards and forwards. I am quite happy. The flow of that is really good. It's going to take a minor skim just to get some of these minor ripples out, but I've got most of the major areas out. It's nice and flat and smooth now. So now we have to do the same thing on the other side. All right, I've spent a lot of time over that other side, and I feel that I'm overworking the area. I've got it very nice and flat. It's got little tiny ripples in it, but overall, with a straight edge, it sits nice and even. This side needs to be done now. Now there's like an egg here. There's quite a large egg, and then moving back over here, this is a bit high here, and I just need to just bring that bit down and bring that bit down. And I'm hoping to do that without overworking it too much like I did on the other side, and just get it nice and neat and smooth. All right, I was just working there for quite some time. The issue I'm having with this side and with that side is this has a slight concave in this sort of strip up here. And it makes it a lot more difficult to get the exact right shapes with the hammer and dolly. And also I tend to be finding that if I've got a high here, it might be sitting perfect just before, and then there's a high. If I get that high down, then it makes it, it makes just behind oil can, and I have to go backwards and forwards, and getting the heat shrink and shrinking a spot is sort of helping pull that out. And again, I've got that reasonably flat. I don't want to overwork it. I found that I've overworked the other side and just went too far. Because of the shape, it's very difficult to get it the way I want it. It's much easier. This sort of convex shape is sort of much easier to get that in a much neat way. This is almost slightly an S or just sort of convex, and it's very difficult to work from underneath. And yeah. Anyway, this side is now done to match the other side. So let's continue looking around and just making sure we've got everything the way we want it. Okay, so now I've got the sides of the actual guards looking good. The next thing I'm going to tackle is getting this corner of the bonnet just right. At the moment, it sits too far this way. The whole thing is a bit tight, so I need to just hammer back the edge of this of the bonnet here just a little bit, and tweak this panel and get this panel, as you can sort of probably just see there, it's sitting a little bit. This panel's sitting low, the bonnet's up sort of where it should be, but it looks high. So I'm just going to go around and just do a little bit more tweaking. I need to get this panel to sit the way it's supposed to without any outside forces. As you can see, at the moment I've got some vice grips on the other side holding it tight. So let's start just going through and slowly tweaking and twisting and getting it all sitting nice and flat and getting all the panel gaps just the way we want them. All right, so I just spent a fair bit of time then pulling the bonnet on and off and going in here, because I found that the tip of the bonnet when I tilted it open was touching inside down here. So I had to give that a bit of spacing. There's a little bit of air now. If you overflex it, it still does just touch. So I might try and sort of see if I can space it down a little bit more. But yeah, it's now closing nicely, sitting nicely all the way around. Overall, I am quite happy with the bonnet fitment. This is very, very, very slow and tedious work trying to get that last little bit of alignment right, and I'm still going to have to take this off and fit it again after doing the epoxy and before doing the bodywork, but at least I'm making sure these last little things are done so that when I do get to that stage, it's going to be much smoother sailing. All right, so the rest of the bonnet is done, but I thought I need to go back and before I can finish it up, I've got to go through and just fix up this little rust strip here. So if this thing will focus, there we go. Yeah, I've got this sort of pitting and rust along this edge here that I just need to go through, and I'm going to make a patch panel, weld it in, hammer it out. It's on a flat strip. It's going to be relatively straightforward. So let's start cutting and welding. All right, well, that was a lot of work where it really feels like I didn't get a lot done. I've spent 2 days now basically just on this front end, getting everything nice and neat and smooth, but we have nice, neat panel gaps all the way around. The levels of the bonnet and everything is all nice. This cowl panel all sits nice and neatly now. And even these sides, I never actually noticed before the bulge in them, which I think could be from a few factors, could be from where I welded on the front end, but either way, it's actually in a nice, relatively smooth finish area now. I mean, like you can see this was damaged earlier and repaired by somebody before me, so that sort of left that there. But it is all looking like something that I can start priming and bodyworking, so that is the front end sorted. So with the front end done, I think it's time to leave it for this week, and next week hopefully I can get the doors done. I know there's a bit of work on getting those done as well, getting those exactly the way I wanted it. In any case, it is worth me spending the time now to get things right while it's in the metal, because that's going to save me a whole heap of time on the other end, and also means I'm not going to have an inch of bog on the car to try and get it neat and tidy. This car needs to be as good as I can possibly get it. So with that, I think it means it's time for fun facts with Mrs. Jeff.
Hey guys, in the early 1960s, Ferrari had established its dominance on the racetrack, highlighted by winning the prestigious endurance race, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, every year, including 1963. Things back at the factory, however, were not great for Enzo. As I've mentioned earlier, in 1961, Enzo lost a lot of his key staff during the Great Walkout, and consequently, he needed some funding. Henry Ford II was looking to spice up Ford's image and to get a sports car to the huge American baby boomer market. He hoped to strike up a deal with Enzo Ferrari to buy the road car side of the Ferrari business. The deal went south at the 11th hour when Enzo Ferrari refused to sign, as the wording of the deal meant that Ferrari would give up ultimate control and could be limited in the funding for Enzo's passion, which was the race car program. What ensued was the development of the giant Ford Motor Company corporation throwing millions of dollars at the GT40 program in a bid to get Enzo where it hurt the most, at Le Mans. Some believe that Enzo Ferrari never intended to sell to Ford, and that it was all a bid to jack up the price when he eventually sold a majority stake to Fiat. Ford, however, was not victorious straight away, and Ferrari still dominated the 1964 and 1965 races. Famously, Ford eventually got their moment of domination with a 1-2-3 finish at the 1966 race with their 7-litre V8 monsters. Interestingly, that year, Porsche actually took out 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th place in their little 2-litre number 6s. The best Ferrari managed to finish was 8th in the 3.3-litre 275 GTB Competizione.
All right, well, she's going to carry one, I'm going to carry one.
It's just nice and warm and cuddly, and it's cold, and yeah.
I think Sasha likes it as much. But the car, the front end is finally looking good. We've got it where it wants to be. Still got to do the doors, and that will be something for next week. And fingers crossed I can get all that done, everything lined up the way it needs to be, and then bodywork is completely finished.
Wow, that'd be amazing. Amazing. I am so excited about that finishing.
Yes, and then we can start painting.
Yay!
So close.
So close. Oh, if you like this, if you want to see Jeff a day early without any ads, follow him on Patreon and like and subscribe if you haven't. Let him know what you think about everything, because he likes to read your comments.
Yes.
He chuckles.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, you know the deal. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one.
Bye. Prestigious road race of its age, the 24-hour Le Mans. I don't know what I'm reading. Established its dominance of the racetrack.
On the racetrack.
Hey guys, in 1960s.
The early 1960s.
What ensued was the development of the giant motor Ford company. You know what?
Ford Motor Company, not Motor Ford Company.
What ensued was the development of the giant motor Ford company.
No.